All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Yesterday was quite an eventful day in Nigeria, and definitely it's about the protest, Free nnamdi now protest organized by some persons led by Yeli Showore, and it happened in different parts of the country, especially some parts of the southeast, especially Abuja, where tear gas, canisters, were fired at them. We'd like you to have a look yourself. Take a look.
Free nnamdi Kanu now! 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 Don't tear gas us! Free nnamdi Kanu now! Don't tear gas us! Don't tear gas us! Do not tear gas us! You are right to protest! Kanu now. Sit. Kanu now. Nnamdi Kanu now. Let's go to beggar.
Of course, there you go. You've just seen the leader of that protest, Yeli Showore, had to duck, had to run, when the tear gas canisters were fired by the Nigerian police, who said they got a court order restraining protesters, actually, from different parts in some areas in Abuja, actually, including the Unity Fountain, the Eagle Square, the National Assembly, the Villa, some of those places. And the police said because of experience, some things might happen and they don't want key critical infrastructures destroyed by protesters and all of those things. But now the crux of the matter, the protesters are saying Nnamdi Kanu should be freed, and they are saying free Nnamdi Kanu now because they believe his prosecution has taken too long and it's more like a vendetta actually against the man. And you remember, he was, arrested, years ago and was given a medical bail based on medical grounds. And his shorty at that time was Ayinaya Abaribe, the minority leader, of the house at that time. And later, he jumped bail, and Ayinaya Abaribe said, "You attacked him." He was talking about the military. You attacked his home in the southeast. The man had to run for his life. And if anybody is to bring back Nnamdi Kanu, for jumping bail, it should be Tuko Buratai, the Nigerian army chief at that time. And, the man left the country. It was weeks back from Kenya, extradited. But many persons say that didn't follow the law of extradition. It was more of a kidnap. And since then, he has been, standing trial, prosecution. These charges have been changed over time by different arm of the state. And here we are. And of those, there have been some political solutions that have been sought. The leaders of the Southeast went to former and late President Buhari at that time. Some governors made entreaties to him. But, throughout the tenure of Muhammadu Buhari, the man has been in incarceration till now. And he has spoken a couple of times to say, "Free me now." And all of those nonsense, using his words, will stop. He was referring to those security challenges and all of those things. And here we are. Yesterday, the protesters went to the streets and the police said, "We got a court order. You can't do this." The protesters are saying it's a human right. You can't do that as well. And of course, some persons have been arrested. Nnamdi Kanu's brother, Aloye Jimako, a barrister, was arrested. other persons in different parts of Abuja were arrested as well. 8 of them, and police are saying you have contravened the law. We are going to prosecute you and you'll be standing trial. We have a public affairs analyst and, of course, a human rights activist and Pan-Africanist, a barrister, Chetam nwala, with us to let us know, is this the place of freedom, the place of law, and what he thinks about these Nnamdi Kanu's case that has been on for forever. And here we are. Barrister Chetam nwala, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Very well. This morning, I'd like to lay a ground that it's for proper information, public enlightenment, and of course your view as a lawyer, because we are talking about law. How will you describe, before we go into the nitty-gritty, I'd like you to describe these things that have been happening so far, the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, the protesters' right to protest, and the government, through the Nigerian police, saying, we have a court order because of this and that. We don't want public infrastructure to be destroyed. You cannot access these places. And the protesters are saying, you lie, we will do that. But I'd like you to start with the development so far in the trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the now proscribed indigenous people of Biafra.
Thank you. First of all, it's quite sad that things have degenerated to the point it has right now in our country with respect to the Nnamdi Kanu's situation. First, I must state clearly that as a method.
Okay.
But you know, one of the things that we must make clear.
Can you please repeat that? We lost the audio connection at some point. Can you please refrain?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I said, first of all, I must make it clear that I am not a supporter of Nnamdi Kanu, neither am I a fan of his approach to his demands, which is self-determination or self-realization or whatever it was for the Biafra people and all that. However, one of the things I must state clearly, you know, if I believe that when we want to do justice, justice should be seen to have been done. We should not do this justice to make it look one-sided. Now, first of all, Nnamdi Kanu has been arrested and he was tried, or he has been on trial.
Yeah.
At some point, the court granted him bail. The man returned back home to Abia State, where he's based at his own state. And the next thing you did was you sent out an operation, Python dance, to invade his family home. And he had to look for ways to run away. This is a man under bail. This is a man still under trial by the Nigerian courts. The army, the Nigerian government did not respect that. Did not respect that. If for any reason, maybe Nnamdi Kanu had flouted the bail order or the bail condition at any point, it is only the court that can give instruction for him to be rearrested. But where the court has not given such an order, the Nigerian government took it upon themselves to come after him, and they wanted to kill him. What did he do? He looked for a way and ran away from the country. You know, sometime in 2023, I was in Kenya, and I spent about 5 months in East Africa. And one of the files, because I was doing an internship there, one of the files I dealt with was a file filed by Kingsley Kanu, which is one of Nnamdi Kanu's brother, right, on this particular issue, asking they took the Kenyan government to court and asking them to pay some form of compensation for their role in the adoption of Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya to Nigeria. That's clearly a violation of his rights. Because if you look at the story surrounding his arrest in Kenya, he went to the airport. He had someone coming to Kenya at the time. He went to the airport to pick up the person from the airport. It was at the point of picking up the person from the airport that they whisked him from the airport. They arrested him at the airport and whisked him back to Nigeria. And since then, we have had a back and forth on this matter. We don't even know tomorrow they are coming up with one charge. Next tomorrow they are coming up with a different thing. The judge is actually saying, "No, I'm no longer interested. I can't continue with this matter." It is tiring. So if the people are saying that, okay, this man, let's have a direction for his prosecution. So it doesn't look like persecution. Let us know what exactly is happening with nnamdi Kanu. So let's know the matter that you have brought before him, and let's dispense justice. Because let me tell you, justice delayed is justice denied. If you're convicting him, go ahead and convict him. The kind of things we are doing in this country is really sad. Then you now come to the question of, you are charging him for terrorism. We saw a Sunday Igboho in this country. Sunday Igboho, the crimes of Sunday Igboho and nnamdi Kanu, what is the difference? But Sunday Igboho is everywhere working freely, and nobody is doing anything about it. He's working freely. He ran away to Benin at some point. He came back and continued. And today, the man is free. He's doing his things. And you start asking questions. So when people start raising up this, the question of the background of their persons people come from, while they are treated differently, people will answer, no, it is because it's from this, it's from that. Come on. We need to deal with this issue, and we need to deal with crime the way it is. The way it is. If you say nnamdi Kanu has committed treason, there's no problems. Allow him face his trial, come up with clear-cut charges, and let us run the trial seamlessly. Those people who have also committed similar crimes, don't free them. Why are they walking freely on the road? Why is it that their matters we're no longer hearing about it on the media space? It tells you the type of system we have found ourselves. Now, peaceful protesters came out to protest. Whether you like the idea for which they came out to protest or not, it is their right to protest. The right to the protest is a fundamental human right.
All right, Barrister Nwala.
From protesting.
Yeah.
And people can have a different means of protesting. Please let me just conclude this thought. People have a different means of protesting. You can protest via writing. You can protest via non-verbal means or civil disobedience. You can also protest by coming out to the street, physical protest. Now, when people come out to carry out this protest, the work and the job of the Nigerian police or whomever is in charge of that of the system is to protect protesters. Is to protect them and not to shoot at them, not to fire at them like we saw the Nigerian government do. The same thing they did to us here in Port Harcourt. When we protested against the state of emergency here, they shot tear gas at us, injured and beat up journalists and lawyers and other persons who were involved in the protest. What kind of country is this? Protesters should be protected and not beaten up. In serious crimes, people are allowed to protest because it is their fundamental human right. It is their fundamental right. So why are you stopping them from protesting?
All right, Barrister Nwala. Yes.
Where is the court order? The police up till now has not produced that court order. Up till today, we are speaking. The police has not been able to produce the court order. The police should provide the court order that restrain them from protesting. They should provide the court order because there is no court order. So the police has not made the order public. They have not made the order public. This is the system we run. We are one man. It is not a dictatorial system. But the truth of the matter is that injustice has enough to be shared to everybody. So when you support injustice today, tomorrow there's a very large likelihood that it will come to you. That's the beauty of injustice.
Absolutely. All right, Barrister Nwala. Now we are here talking about the protest in Abuja. My question to you is this. You are a legal practitioner. What does the law say about the use of force by the police during protests? Because we've seen, Barrister Nwala, we've seen protests in other countries where we even see protesters get violent. You see protesters throwing stones at police officers, and you see the police officers, ducking, dodging, and still being civil with the protesters. But now we have protesters in Nigeria, in Abuja yesterday, for instance. None of them were throwing stones. None of them were armed with sticks or whatever. They were just carrying, leaves and banners. So what does the Nigerian law say about, the use of force by the Nigerian police during protests? And again, number two, how can we determine the response of the Nigerian police towards yesterday's protest in Abuja? How can we determine whether it was, excessive, whether it was abusive or unlawful, and what can be done going forward?
The court on several occasions has held that, and I've given a position when it comes to the use of force during protests. And I've said that, first of all, the court has made it clear that protest is a civil right of every individual. It's a fundamental right of every individual. That every individual has powers, has that right to come out to protest over a particular actions of the government. However, on the part of force, now in such circumstances, to quell protest, we know worldwide, by international standard, there are certain mechanisms and measures that are used to quell protests, especially when the protest becomes violent, not when the protest is not violent. When the protest is not violent, you have one duty. The duty is to protect the protesters and to protect the critical state facilities. That is the duty of the police during protests. It is not to stop the protest because it is the right of the people to protest. You can't stop the people from protesting. Now, when that such a situation happens, what do we have? We have a situation where it is either you make use of water, where the protests become so violent, and there are serious fears that critical government facilities may be destroyed because of the protest. You make use of water. Water cannons are being used.
Yeah.
You make use of water where it becomes extreme, where it becomes very extreme, and it has now turned to become violent. That is now where you use non-lethal weapons. Non-lethal weapons. That's where you use non-lethal weapons. But the Nigerian police we have today are not, let me tell you, they are not even ready for protest. They do not have the equipment to quell protest. You are naturally supposed to use, what they call it, light rubber battens. Light rubber battens and protest shields. How many police officers, how many police stations have protest shields? We don't have them in this country.
We see them in videos.
We don't prepare for protest. What we prepare for is for war. We see the citizens as people who are against the Nigerian system, so they need to be killed. So we are after them, we want to kill them, we want to destroy them. Meanwhile, you have Boko Haram disturbing the country, parts of the country. You have bandits everywhere. Nobody is doing anything about it. The people are so shameless that they can't go after these people. But innocent protesters, they will throw tear gas at them, they will shoot live bullets at them. This is the type of system we have found ourselves.
By Sawala. Yeah, by Sawala.
These are steps.
By Sawala.
Because there are best standard of how to go about these things. But the Nigerian police, no. We have very unprofessional police. Especially when you have an IGP who doesn't know what he's doing, an IGP who ordinarily is supposed not to be an IGP. Ordinarily is supposed not to be an IGP.
By Sawala, all right. Sorry to cut in. By Sawala, I can see you are really passionate about this, and I quite understand. You've said it, that the Nigerian police, that their major responsibility is to protect peaceful protesters. And again, if it should go violent, they have to use non-lethal weapons, non-lethal methods to address the case. Now, by Sawala, judging by the incidents of yesterday, what happened yesterday across Abuja, can you categorically say, or can Nigerians categorically say, judging by the actions of the police, that this administration has become authoritarian in nature?
I have told you now, but I've told you this time and time again, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has converted and turned himself into a dictator, a civilian dictator. That is what we have now. From the period of the state of emergency and some of the actions the president has taken. I have told you, I have mentioned it on this station severally, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a civilian dictator. His approach to dealing with issues, this is the same person who protested in 2012. We joined him to protest. I myself, I joined him to protest in Lagos against fuel subsidy. We joined him to protest, and we were not attacked by the government of the day. We were not shut out. We all came out for 1 full week in Lagos. We were protesting with this same person. But today, it is the same person who has powers, who was supposed to protect protesters, is the one now under his watch. Protesters are being shot. People are being tear gassed. People are being arrested illegally and taken to detention facilities for what? For protesting. So what we have is a dictator as a president. And let me say this. Well, anybody who cares to listen. The president has decided not to play by the books any longer. So he plays by his own dictates and what protects his own interest. He plays by his own dictates and what protects his interest. So he is no longer doing the biddings of Nigerians. He's no longer doing things for the interest of Nigerians. Yeah. He's now doing things against the interest of Nigeria. So the Nigerian system has collapsed under President Bola.
Will it not be an overreach, actually, to call the president a dictator? That's quite a very extreme word, and I give you my reasons. I remember, was it May 29, where I was talking about democracy, and, in some other places where I said, they will abuse me. It's not that he doesn't care. He doesn't even check social media again, because that's the beauty of democracy. That's on one side. That was a place he said, yes, people will always say things you know, people always do things, but then on his watch, nobody will be witch hunted because of their fault. The president has said this over and over again now, and I'll allow you to answer to that. Talking about the court order, the police released a statement saying, they call it police urge protest groups to respect court order, warn against hijackers, punitive measures await offenders. Listen to this. They said, the police force reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to upholding the rule of law and maintaining public peace in accordance with constitutional provisions. This follows the subsisting order of the Federal High Court Abuja Division given on 17th October 2025 by Honorable Justice M.G. Umar. So they mentioned the name of the justice, suit number FHC/ABJ/CS/2202/2025, Federal Republic of Nigeria versus Omoyele Sowore and others. So they gave the order restrained the respondent and any other persons or groups acting under the instruction from staging protests within and around Aso Rock Villa and its environs, the National Assembly Complex, Force Headquarters, the Court of Appeal, Eagle Square, and Shehu Shagari Way. So when you're talking about court order not being made public, they mention the name of the court, the name of the justice, the suit number, and everything there. So what more is to be expected from a court order? Now you are saying, and you are calling the president a dictator. The first question is that not an overreach? Because this is the man who has said some of those things I said earlier. Number two, the president has not been seen saying protesters should not protest. This is Nigerian police going to court using the same law court that you people go to as the temple of justice to get a court order to say you guys can protest, but not in these places because of key infrastructure. Why are you not blaming Mr. President and calling him such a name?
First of all, police just issued a statement, and what you read was a police statement they issued. I am asking for court order. You're reading police statement to me. What should I take? Why should I take seriously the statement by the police? When from the decision of the court, what the police did was to twist everything the court had said, because the court asked them to return back on Monday, being yesterday, so he can give a further directive on the issue. They wanted to take an ex parte order, but that did not work. They were asked to go back and put the other parties on notice. It did not work. They asked them to put the other parties on notice. But what did they do? They came, issued a statement and said, twisted the whole thing and lied and said this was a decision of the court. That was never the decision of the court. That's why I'm challenging them. The police should make public the order of the court. The order of the court is the public document. Make public.
So you feel the police cherry-picked whatever suited them in that particular court order, and they intentionally hiding the whole thing.
They lied. They lied. They didn't cherry-pick. They lied. Outright, they lied. Let them make public the court order that asked them to restrain protesters from these facilities or from these parts of the federal capital.
Okay, the second part is why
there's no court order on front movement.
You are calling now the president and calling him a dictator. Some will say why.
Now, as for that of the president, when you look at the actions of the president, you look at actions of the president vis-a-vis the laws we have in this nation. Right. A person who is not carrying out who is not behaving in line, a leader who is not behaving in line with the provisions of our constitution, who does things by his own dictates, by his own calculation. Let us look at it. Look at semantics. What is the meaning of a dictator? Who is a dictator? One who carries out government actions by himself without following rules of law. Is this president following rule of law? When he declares of emergency in Rivers, did he follow rule of law? When all the things he has done, all the actions he has taken thus far, which of them has he followed the rule of law? Which of them? He does things by his own whims and caprices and gets away with it. Gets away with it because the legislature is in his pocket, the judiciary is also in his pocket, and that is what we are talking about. And you say such a person is not a dictator? I don't know what else you want to define it. I don't know what else.
All right, Barrister Nwala.
It's a sad situation. It is indeed a sad situation.
Okay, Barrister Nwala, judging by the recent, occurrences as far as this free nnamdi now protest is concerned, in your own opinion, as a legal practitioner, what are the implications of this police crackdown on peaceful protesters on Nigeria's human rights image, both locally and internationally?
You know, when I read the report of Amnesty International, and it just goes to confirm what we keep saying. And you know, in the report, the first line says, the Nigerian government once again. That is the word. Simply means that they have continuously done this particular thing and that they will continue to do it. Nigerian government once again cracked down on protesters, on armed protesters. Now, let me tell you, Nigeria does not have a good public image, international image when it comes to human rights, because the world continues to see how human rights is being trampled upon. The world continues to see how people who come out to speak up are being dealt with by this particular government. It has continued. It is not the first time. It is not likely to be the last time this is going to happen. So the international community knows. And the Nigerian, that's why when they came up with, when Ted Cruz came up with the Senator Ted Cruz in the US, came up with the Christian genocide across the country or happening in Nigeria, they quickly were looking for ways to debunk that whole thing. But the truth of the matter is this: are there no killings in the north? Are there no killings of Christians in the north? Didn't you see the killings in Benue? What has been done in the killings in Benue? What exactly has been done? How many arrests have been made? What prosecutions have been carried out thus far since the killings in Yahweh or whatever is known in the community? It tells you the type of system we are running.
But by Sawala,
so they try to do a patch.
By Sawala,
their image.
By Sawala, sorry to cut in. Just before we go on this quick break now, I just want to ask you, why is this case, this Nnamdi Kanu's case, why is it peculiar right now? Why is this case different? According to reports there have been several cases where, the court has ordered his release, but the government, the federal government, has refused to release him. Why is Nnamdi's case different, Nnamdi Kanu's case? In your own opinion, why do you think his case is treated or handled differently?
Nnamdi Kanu is calling for secession. And the reason that's the fear. The growing influence, the influence of Nnamdi Kanu across the country, especially the southeast, it's something that the federal government is scared of, and that's why we keep saying that. That's why this president is acting like a dictator, because if there are court orders asking that the man should be released, and you have refused to obey that court order to release the said man, then who are you? You are a dictator. It is as simple as that. Let me say this categorically: that Nnamdi Kanu's situation. They are just merely afraid of Nnamdi Kanu, that Nnamdi Kanu has built some level of influence, and you know how the man operates. He's an orator who actually knows how to make use of words to convince people and get people to do things that he wants them to do. But the big question is this: can the Nigerian government quell some of these things? It is because we do not have a government that is willing to tackle security. If the government was willing to tackle security, there is nothing that Kanu's freedom will do to jeopardize the security of this country. There's nothing, I assure you. But because we have a government that is willing to pack money and not deal with security issues, that is why you see there are some security flashpoints within the southeast till today. And that's why you see they're also scared of releasing him, because they feel he will go back and cause mayhem.
All right.
Sunday Igboho has been released on bail. Why were they not scared of releasing Sunday Igboho? Is Sunday Igboho causing crisis as they were said today? It's not causing crisis, but he was also demanding for the secession of the Oduduwa Republic, or the creation of Oduduwa Republic. This exactly happened in this country. So when we look at things generally, you look at this, you ask the Nigerian government, what are you scared of? Why are you not obeying court orders? From the Buhari era, we saw Buhari not obeying court orders. Not obeying court orders. This is the type of system we have. This is the kind of leaders we have. Dictators in civilian uniform.
All right,
Dictators in civilian clothes.
Sawala, please hold that thought. We're due for a break. We're going on a short break, and when we return, we'll continue with the conversation. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. This is the Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, and this morning we are taking a critical look at the protests that have paralyzed the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and of course some southeastern states in Nigeria. Starting yesterday, 20th October 2025, protesters took to the streets demanding the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the proscribed group, Indigenous People of Biafra, ipob, and several protesters were arrested yesterday. And the leader of the protest, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, has said that this protest will continue and might escalate if the police don't stand down and allow them to have their peaceful protest. We still have with us a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst, Barrister Chetam Nwala. Thank you, Barrister Nwala, for staying with us.
Thank you.
Barrister Nwala, just before we went on that break, you made some statements. You noted rightly, you tried to compare Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho. Now, these two men were actually charged with treasonable felony, okay, quite similar offenses. And you also reminded us that Sunday Igboho is walking freely in Nigeria today. In your own opinion, why is Nnamdi's case different? Because here, I'm about to ask an uncomfortable question, and that's what we should do here. And here's how I mean. If Sunday Igboho was also charged for treasonable felony, okay, and he's walking free, he's been released, and Nnamdi Kanu is being held, what's your own opinion? Is this just political, or can we say it's tribal in nature? Or how else can we explain as Nigerians that two people being charged with similar offenses, one is discharged, one is acquitted, one is walking free, and another one is still in jail despite, the fact that we've had court orders ordering his release? The DSS have not been able to come up with sufficient evidence, reasonable evidence to warrant his continued detention. But here we have Nnamdi Kanu still being held and Sunday Igboho has been released. In your own opinion, what do you think is really playing out right here in Nigeria?
Okay, one of the things I try as an individual to avoid is to play the tribal card. I really do not subscribe to it as a person. I don't like looking at issues from the angle of tribe, because I believe that we're all Nigerians, and that as Nigerians that we must actually look at things in what is in our best interest in every circumstance. So I try as much as possible not to look at any issue from the tribal card. Very importantly, I don't want to look at the reason Sunday Igboho. I don't want to say that the reason Sunday Igboho was released was because he's a Yoruba man or is from the West and all that. I don't want to do that particular line. I just want to look at it from the standpoint that there are two persons who were charged with the same offense, and that one person has gotten some level of freedom and is now moving freely. We no longer hear about his matters again in court. But this other person was also arrested, and this other person's matter, we have had the back and forth on the issues and all that. Every day they come to court and we have this back and forth on his issue, which is not a good thing for our democracy, which is not a good thing for our judicial system. So I think that just like the Quam 1 and Quam 2 issues we had recently, I think that justice should be served, no matter who is involved, no matter the person's tribe, no matter whatever. We should look at things from the angle and from the standpoint of justice that is just being done in this circumstance. If we treat A that was charged with this particular offense and crime, if we treat that A differently, can we also treat B the same way? Why are we dilly-dallying and dealing with one differently? We know that the matters are peculiar. These matters are different and quite peculiar to themselves. But importantly, the charges brought are the same charge. So we must look at it from that standpoint, that two Nigerians were brought before the court. I want to even look at it more that it is more of political, and that to end this, we must also look at the political solution to deal with this particular issue. We must look at the political solution.
So in your opinion, by Nwala,
I'm coming, please.
Okay.
The Southeast has continued to agitate for secession. Has the Nigerian government called these persons involved to say, what exactly is the challenge? Why do you want to succeed? What are your demands? Are you okay? If you talk about marginalization, how do we ameliorate this crisis that has led to this marginalization of this particular region and solve that problem? Recall, the Niger Delta suffered the same situation that led to the militancy era in the Niger Delta. But President Yar'Adua, rather than come violent and start fighting with the militants, what did he do? He decided to sit down with these people who have agitated and said, see, what exactly is your problem? Is it developmental? Okay, I'm going to create for you Minister of Niger Delta Affairs that will help develop the Niger Delta. I'm going to also strengthen the NDDC, which is also covering your region. I'm going to do this. I'm going to also grant amnesty to all of you who have actually continued with this violence over the years. And that Niger Delta problem was solved. The Niger Delta problem, as of today, has been solved. But, and now we now see little development coming into the Niger Delta. The big thing now is this: the people are crying for secession because of marginalization. Can the Nigerian government look for a political solution to dealing with this particular issue. To dealing with that, rather than use this particular approach and this prosecution approach, which they're actually going with. They can deal with it and nip this whole thing on the board.
All right.
And everybody will smile at the end of the day.
All right,
what do we have? We have a system that thinks that they can use force on the people, and that is the only way to quelling and dealing with an issue.
Barrister Nwala, you are suggesting a political solution to this crisis right now. Looking at the southeastern region, I know you are from the South, so you should have an unbiased view to this. Do you agree that the southeastern part in Nigeria has been marginalized? Because a lot of people, even yesterday, I heard a lawyer saying that, not on air, we're having a conversation, and he said that, that President Tinubu will not release nnamdi Kanu. That is only an Igbo man that will release him. Now, but if we try to, downplay the tribal aspect, let's just look at the political, let's restrict ourselves to the political solution right now. Do you agree, Barrister Nwala, that the Southeast has been marginalized? Why is it that people from the Southeast, some people even say it openly, that it's not their turn to be president. So what exactly is the problem with the Southeast? We've had the Civil War for several decades ago, from 1967 to 1970. This is 2025. Why is the southeastern part of Nigeria still facing this challenge? Why are Southeasterners being treated as second-class citizens in their own nation, and now they're agitating for secession? So what exactly do you think is happening, and what's the best political solution to this at this point in time?
Let me say this. Anybody who says the Southeast has not been marginalized in this current political arrangement in Nigeria, it's not being fair and truthful to himself. The Southeast has continuously been marginalized. If you look at the political, since we returned to democracy in 1990, today, you ask yourself, what offices are Southeastern held? What developmental this has been brought down to the Southeast? As of today, when you look at the Southeast, what is the level of development within the Southeast? And how, if not that the people are very striving people who push for their interests, who know how to push themselves. You go to Lagos, for example. Look at properties being demolished. Look at clear-cut tribal play against the Southeasterners in Lagos. Clear-cut tribal play. And you have a government, the government has not come to condemn such tribal play. In the last elections, we saw how they came, how people came, especially those from the West, came out to say that Southeasterners should leave Lagos. And the government did not condemn such a statement. The government allowed such a thing fly. Their properties have been destroyed, their businesses have been destroyed. Let's not pretend about these things. Southeasterners are heavily marginalized. The truth is this: the people Nigerians have not recovered from the Civil War up till today. And it is bedeviling us. One of the problems we think we have solved the Civil War question. We have not solved that Civil War question. That is why we just pretend like everything is okay and we have moved on. But the Civil War question is still there. We have not addressed it. We have not recovered from the Civil War. Because those who were part and parcel of the Civil War, those who partook in the Civil War, are still alive and well. They are still active. And they have handed down oral history down to the people, to the younger ones, who are now running with it. Now, one of the things the Nigerian government tried to do to quell that situation so that people do not remember is the fact that the story of the Civil War, they stopped the teaching of history in schools and thinking that will solve our problem. That has not solved our problem. It has only made the younger persons who did not learn history, it has only made them dumb.
But Samuel, I think they've lifted the ban on the teaching of history. I think it has been reversed. I think history is now being taught in our schools.
I don't know about that. I don't know about. I can't speak to that particular, but I know the last time I checked, they banned history from schools, thinking that it was going to solve the problem. It is not going to solve the problem. We must, first of all, deal with the Civil War question. Because let me tell you something. Part of the problems we have today, that between Nigerians, the tribal issues we have today, is as a result of that Civil War questions that we have refused not to address. We must address the Civil War question. The level of the marginalization of the Southeasterners across this country is as a result of the unanswered Civil War question. So people view them from that angle. People view them from that light. So we must address that Civil War question. The Southeasterners, what political offices do we give to them? Because the Nigerian system seems to be afraid of the Southeasterners. Seems to be afraid of the Southeasterners. So they actually knock them off of the political calculations and all that. Then when we talk about zoning,
all right,
when we talk about zoning and presidency, I'm coming, please. You want to talk about the zoning of the presidency.
And you're not talking
about that. No, it has not gotten to the turn of the Southeastern to become president. Let me shock you.
Yeah.
Let me shock you to that effect. We had a president Obasanjo from the West. We had a president Goodluck Jonathan from the South. At this time we're talking about now, naturally, we should be having, if we are talking about zoning and that this thing should go across the regions within the old southern Nigeria, we should talk about someone from the southeast. But nobody did that to that direction because the system seemed not to trust southeasterners with power. So if they had their way, they probably wouldn't have given a southern man the presidency in this country. They probably wouldn't have. But see, I keep on saying that I don't want us to look at things from this particular angle. But the truth is this: certain parts of Nigeria is suffering sit down, look at the solution, political solution. I tell you for free, these issues will be solved easily.
All right. Now, point made about the political dynamics around that particular thing. Although some will argue and say, no, nobody will hand over power to anybody or any state or any region, just because it has not been their turn before, by the current reality of what we have. And some have argued and say the kind of politics that maybe those people usually play before are regional. Many of them are in the mainstream right now. The Minister of Works is from the Southeast. Many high-profile positions have been occupied there, but that's not my focus this morning. The topic is about, but it's good that we have talked about that because everything, can be picked, to be the reason why we are here. Let's talk about the man, Nnamdi Kanu. There are many violent utterances that have been traced against the man. And this is not a case of, as compared to this or as compared to that. No. The day we'll talk about individual A, we'll talk about individual A. The day we'll talk about individual B, we'll talk about individual B. There are many utterances, even caught in videos, that have been attributed to the man and his violent utterances, which has built, quote unquote, that Frankenstein, in the Southeast that is now ravaging the Southeast right now, in which the man is now saying, if you release me today, that nonsense will stop. A certain Simon Ekpa picked up on that and was issuing all kind of directives that some have said gullible persons followed to be hurting their own people, destroying properties. It was the directive of Nnamdi Kanu, it's on record, that started the sit-at-home issue on Mondays and all of those things, because he was reacting to say, the cessation from Nigeria and all of those things. On this particular day of the week, you can come out. On this particular day of the week, you cannot come out. It was quoted to have called Nigeria a zoo. It was quoted to have said to Obasanjo in a particular forum, I think in 2017, to say, if anything happens to me, Obasanjo and his family should be dealt with. And before 12 p.m., all of them should be wiped out. So he has said so many horrible things in the past, even though he has not been seen to carry arms against the people. Brother, fear, violence, even against the same people of the Southeast. Barrister, I've watched videos in which a particular, I think it was an army officer and the husband were coming home for Christmas. They were from the Southeast and they were butchered in terrible circumstances because of this agitation. So some will say, don't think he's as innocent as being, said right now. But then some persons will argue and say there was what got to that point. Maybe it wasn't to that point before. But now that you are talking about political calculation, how about the lives that have been lost? I heard, I think Dan Nwala yesterday on the program, is an Igbo man himself, Zenith Labour Party leader, said, because of this, there was a year that it was said that almost trillions of naira has been lost in the Southeast. Businesses have been affected. Education have been affected because some of these utterances from Nnamdi Kanu by us standard that they are violent. Why is it now that, maybe it's the Nigerian state that have messed up the prosecution? Are you saying the prosecution should be rounded off, done by the dictate of our law, or it's because the man, ab initio, has been innocent? He has never been part of this particular situation that got to this point, that have killed hundreds of people, and some are still holding arms against the state because they feel they are supporting the man and his agitation. If you understand my narrative.
Now let me say this. I started with the caveat when I started talking that I'm not a fan, I'm not a supporter Nnamdi Kanu's approach to his demand for secession. I'm not. I've listened to Radio Biafra, and I've listened to Nnamdi Kanu say terrible things.
Kill them, name them,
very
destroy
terrible
them.
things that is unimaginable. Very terrible things and very terrible instructions he has given to his people. I'm not here defending Nnamdi Kanu, and I will never do that. I think that is also part of the reasons why I didn't join the protest in Abuja yesterday. Else, naturally, I would have joined. But I will never do that. I will never defend Nnamdi Kanu. But you know, the point we are making here, right, and what I am saying is clear, is that even a convicted criminal under our laws has rights. A criminal convicted of crime, of murder, of whatever, a condemned criminal has right under our laws. So does Nnamdi Kanu. The fact that we have alleged that he has committed all these crimes, it does not simply mean that he no longer has rights, so he can be dealt with anyhow they want to deal with him. No. We are saying that protect that right. Give him fair trial. Let him face the charges you have brought before him. That is the demand. The demand is not that you should allow him walk away and get away with whatever he has done. No, that's not the demand.
But the protest, Barrister, the protest now is free Nnamdi Kanu now. Free Nnamdi Kanu now. So how does that work?
Let me tell you, when we come up with slogans during protests, you know, usually we all know that the president does not have powers to wake up in the morning and go to the detention center and free Nnamdi Kanu. We all know that one for sure. You and I know that for sure. So what that message simply means, it has a lot of other messages behind it. And that is exactly what I was trying to describe to you. That it is not, we know presidents cannot do that. But the demand is that give this man a fair trial. Don't persecute him. If you say he has committed treason, please bring out the charges, read the charges against him. Let him face his charges.
The charges have been changed. Barrister, if I may call the court charges.
Let's not having the back and forth every day.
Yeah, the charges against Nnamdi Kanu has been reviewed, changed over time, you know, and now we are still here, and you know, all of those things. Do you think this is just purely persecution? The issue is not about saying that he's innocent of everything that he has been accused of. We're not saying that he's innocent. The protesters are not saying that, no, that he has innocent, so free him. No, that's not the idea. The idea is this. Why reviewing the charges you have brought before him? Come up with a fair trial against this man. Right. If you're convicting him, go ahead and convict him. If you're not convicting him, free him. Stop this hanky-panky you are doing, because to the best of my knowledge, what the Nigerian government is doing is a hanky-panky situation.
All right.
Deal with it and let us solve this problem.
All right, Barrister Nwala.
He has a right.
Barrister Nwala.
This prolonged persecution of Nnamdi Kanu is what the protest team seeks to condemn. It is not asking that Nnamdi Kanu should be exonerated of all charges against him. No. But if you have your charge against him, because you know the proof is proof beyond reasonable doubt. You must prove beyond reasonable doubt that this man actually carried out these particular crimes you have against him, unless the prosecution does not have evidence to convict Nnamdi Kanu. Unless the prosecution does not have evidence.
All right. Barrister Nwala.
When you look at things,
Barrister Nwala,
it's quite sad.
If you believe in this case, yeah, Barrister Nwala, let's move on. Let's say perhaps the federal government and the Nigerian police, they are not handling it the right way. Like you said the federal government, they are just playing hanky-panky in your own words. So assuming the federal government and the Nigerian police are not handling this matter the way they should, my question to you is this: what should civil society organizations and the National Human Rights Commission be doing differently at this point, just to, quell this crisis, to make sure it does not escalate? Because, Barrister Nwala, I said this morning, just before we started this segment, that all it takes for this to escalate, and it can really quickly escalate from 1 to 100 in a very short time, is for a trigger-happy policeman to fire a shot and kill an innocent protester, and it might just escalate. And we do not want that. We are not praying for a revolution in Nigeria. So in your opinion, what should civil society organizations and the National Human Rights Commission be doing differently at this time? Or what should they do to make sure they calm this case and not, to avoid any further escalations?
What the Nigerian government should do, what the civil society organizations should do, is what they're already doing right now. Sometimes we look at ourselves and we don't like to tell ourselves the truth. The civil society organization cannot do more than forcing the hands of the government to carry out fair trial for Nnamdi Kanu. What the demand is for fair trial. Give the man fair trial. Allow the man face his charges. Don't wake up tomorrow, you cook up a new charge against him. When you're done with that charge, the next day, you cook up a new charge against him. The whole idea is not that Nnamdi Kanu should be let to walk away free. No. The thing is, yes, carry out your prosecution, but stop changing the charges against Nnamdi Kanu. Stop amending the charges every day. Every day you're amending the charges. Every day you're coming up with one issue or the other. No. Nobody is saying that Nnamdi Kanu should not be prosecuted. We want Nnamdi Kanu to be prosecuted. Yes, no problem. Go ahead and prosecute him. Bring your evidence against him. No problems. But don't wake up in the morning, you now cook up a new charge and you cook up a new charge just to keep the man continuously in your detention. This is it. What is happening to Nnamdi Kanu can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody on any issue. It can happen. So let's talk about the issue of treason and everything Nnamdi Kanu has done. Look at it from the prison of somebody who has a right. Somebody who has a right, even as a prisoner, he has a right. And that you cannot continuously bring up charge against him today, you bring up another charge against him tomorrow. Let's have a direction and solve this problem once and for all. This continuous back and forth is not helping the situation. So civil society organization, the protest you are seeing is to force the hand of government to give this matter a direction and to nip it on the board.
Barrister Chetam Nwala, as we round off right now, looking at the action of the police, because the protest wave hit Abuja and, some part of the southeast, we learned, maybe in Abia and some states, no protesters were arrested in those ends, at least for now, publicly, at least that we have known of. He's only in Abuja. Nnamdi Kanu's brother was arrested. The police have confirmed that. A colleague of yours as well, a barrister, Aloye Jimako, one of his counsel, arrested, and some persons arrested as well. And the police have said they have contravened his law. They will be prosecuted. If that goes ahead, what do you think will happen, actually?
No, see, let me say this. I don't see any wrong they have done. If the police say they want to prosecute them for protesting, they should tell us the law that is against protest. They should tell us the law that is against protest. Just go ahead and prosecute them. Charge them to court. It should take them this money to court. They'll get bail immediately. They'll get bail immediately.
Now, will it be wrong? Because we have talked about the court order.
They'll get bail immediately. Because I don't see why you're holding down protesters.
All right. You talked about,
for protesting? No.
If I may, you talked about that court order not being made public because, and using your, inferring from what you said, it was intentional by the police, and you said they even lied because that wasn't what the court said. The court said they should come back by yesterday, and the police chose to just act on whatever they did, and it was intentional for them. But you have said as well that police has the right to keep the public peace, protect critical infrastructure, and they went to court to say these areas, you guys can protest, but don't come here. Would that be wrong, actually? Because in part of their duty, protecting critical infrastructure, they have done that. If only the court order is, is genuine, shouldn't we be praising the police to that, to say, we are not saying you should not protest, but don't come.
You cannot protest, you cannot praise the police. First of all, what at the point of these arrests, at the point of the shooting, at the point of the police harassment we saw yesterday, what were the positions of these protesters? What were the protesters doing? Were they attempting to break into critical government facilities? When the police stopped them or restricted them from entering a particular area, did they push back on the police? Did they throw stones at the police? What did they do to the police? What provocation? What provocation led to the shooting of tear gas?
Right.
What provocation led to the shooting of firearms? What led to the arrest of protesters by the police?
All right, we have to go.
No provocation at all.
Thank you. Yeah, Pan-African.
First of all, there should be some level of provocation.
All right.
That should lead the police into taking these actions.
All right.
But none of these things happen. But the police, being trigger happy, being excited with this circumstance, what did they do? They came after the people who they seek to protect. Were they protecting the facilities? They were not protecting any facility.
These are developing.
They want to stop the protest by all means because they are afraid of the power of the people.
All right.
They are
These
afraid
are
of the
developing
people coming
stories
together and uniting.
And and trust us to be on it. Pan-Africanist, a human rights activist and lawyer, Chetam Nwala. Thank you for your time and you take this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All
God
right.
bless
And
you.
of course, this nation is for us all. This is a nation called Nigeria. So many persons reacted to what has happened. Actually, as time will permit us, we'd like you to maybe hear one or two, but that will be after now. Femi Ojo is my name. I'll see you tomorrow. Daniel?
Absolutely. And again, it is worthy of note to mention the fact that the protesters were not anywhere near the police purported court order restricted them from going to. When they were, fired with tear gas. I think we should take note of that. The protesters were to Tako, Akpo, and Berger, nowhere near those places where the police actually claimed they got orders restraining the people from protesting. So the police, I repeat, and I choose my words carefully, the police, the Nigeria police, had no right to fire tear gas at peaceful protesters who were not at those venues they claim were restricted. It is absolutely not obtainable in any democracy around the world. Daniel Emeka is my name. Join us again tomorrow for a fresh edition of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Do have a wonderful day. Good morning.